In late autumn 2012, the city of Zhuzhou in China's Hunan province was quietly preparing for the coming winter. Streets were lined with the last golden leaves, and life moved with its familiar, rhythmic pulse. But beneath this serene surface, an unsettling silence was about to take hold, the silence of a woman who vanished without a trace. Liu Ying was a woman known for her vivacity and boldness. Her presence was magnetic, her laughter contagious, yet beneath her confident exterior, there was a complexity, a woman navigating shadows cast by ambition, relationships, and unspoken fears. On November 19, 2012, Liu Ying left her home as usual, but that day would mark the last time her footsteps echoed in the streets. Hours passed, calls went unanswered, and by nightfall, a terrifying realization took hold: she had disappeared. The first alarming sign came not from a witness, but from a message, a chilling text sent from Liu Ying's phone, a desperate plea masked in cryptic words, addressed to those closest to her. Her husband, anxious and desperate, reached out to the police, his voice trembling with disbelief. He described the strange absence, the unanswered calls, and the unnerving fact that her car remained parked, untouched in their driveway, as if she had simply evaporated into thin air. In those first terrifying hours, hope flickered weakly. Friends, family, and neighbors scoured every corner, retracing Liu Ying's steps, clinging to the fragile possibility that she might walk back through the door, unharmed. But the silence grew heavier. No answers, no signs of struggle, only a growing void where a vibrant life once thrived. I often reflect on what Liu Ying's final moments might have been, trapped in fear, struggling against unseen chains, her thoughts racing between hope and despair. Could she have imagined that her voice would be silenced, that her story would become a grim enigma? The investigation swiftly cast suspicion over those who shared her world. Two men stood out, close acquaintances with complex ties to Liu Ying, their stories weaving through the fabric of the city's undercurrents. But despite initial suspicion, both men produced airtight alibis. The police were left grasping at fragments of a puzzle that refused to yield its secrets. The city held its breath. Every unanswered question echoed like a drumbeat of fear and uncertainty. What had happened to Liu Ying? Was this a disappearance born of chance, or something far more sinister? Her story reveals the fragile line between public bravado and private vulnerability. In the midst of community bustle, loneliness and danger often lurk unseen, waiting for a moment to strike. Liu Ying's fate is a haunting reminder that behind every missing person lies a tapestry of relationships, choices, and hidden battles. Her disappearance was not just a crime, it was a fracture in the city's soul. And so we step into the shadows of Zhuzhou's streets, guided by flickering lantern light, to uncover a story of trust broken, innocence lost, and a search for truth that will test the limits of justice and humanity. What darkness lies hidden behind familiar faces? And how far will those shadows stretch to conceal secrets that refuse to die? To understand the enigma of Liu Ying's disappearance, we must peer into the intricate web of relationships that surrounded her, a web tangled with ambition, secrecy, and unspoken fears. Liu Ying was no stranger to complexity. Her life danced between two worlds, the glittering surface of social gatherings and the shadowy undercurrents of clandestine liaisons. Two men in particular drew the investigators' gaze: Zhan Chuang, a charismatic yet notorious figure with ties to the city's underground, and Chen Kailiang, a middle-aged man whose past was shadowed by debts and desperation. At first, The police believed these men might hold the key to Liu Ying's fate, but their stories unraveled only to reveal alibis backed by witnesses and travel records, leaving the mystery deeper than before. Behind the official testimonies, whispers of Liu Ying's lifestyle emerged, a life filled with late nights, risky associations, and a desire for more than the modest world she was born into. Had ambition blinded her to the dangers lurking within her own circle? Or was she a pawn caught in a game far larger and more cruel? In reflecting on Liu Ying's choices, I wonder how often we mistake boldness for freedom, failing to see the invisible chains that bind. Her relationships, complex and fraught, mirror the fragile social fabric of many communities, where trust is a currency easily spent and rarely replenished. From friends to foes, the lines blurred. Alliances shifted like sand, and beneath laughter lay agendas concealed, waiting for a moment to surface. Have you ever felt the weight of unspoken words in a room full of people? The silence between sentences heavier than any accusation. Liu Ying's story forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about the cost of social ambition, the fragility of human bonds, and the dangers of isolation even amidst company. In this shadowed circle, secrets fester. The unknown truths behind Liu Ying's final hours remain locked away, challenging investigators and stirring community whispers. As we sift through the fragments of her life, we see not just a missing woman, but a portrait of human vulnerability, where dreams collide with harsh realities. Liu Ying's disappearance was the breaking of a delicate glass, the sound heard faintly at first, but one that reverberates across a city yearning for answers. And so, as the investigation deepens, we must ask ourselves, how well do we truly know those closest to us? What secrets hide behind familiar faces? In the tangled dance of relationships, who holds the power, and who becomes the next victim in a story of trust betrayed? As the layers peel back, the line between friend and foe blurs, and the darkness that took Liu Ying grows ever closer. What would you do if the people you trusted most were the ones weaving your fate in shadows? In this web of secrets and half-truths, the truth waits, patient and cold, demanding to be found. Will justice find a way through this labyrinth, or will Liu Ying's story remain another whispered warning in the dark? Behind every disappearance, there is a trail, a string of clues woven through whispers, sightings, and silences. For Liu Ying, that trail was both faint and hauntingly deliberate. The local police dived into her last known movements, the places she frequented, the people she met, the calls unanswered. Each detail, small yet significant, formed a fragile skeleton of truth. Surveillance cameras captured her walking briskly near the Hunky Square, a familiar route, but on this day, her companion was two mysterious men whose faces faded into shadows. The husband's shock was palpable, he had never met these men. His wife's world was a labyrinth he could not navigate, her secrets locked behind smiles and silence. Yet, the police were quick to discard initial theories of accidental disappearance or voluntary escape. The abandoned vehicle in the parking lot told a different, darker story. A lingering question hovered: why would Liu Ying leave without her car, without her belongings, as if pulled away in haste or against her will? The investigation shifted, peeling back layers of Liu Ying's relationships, her late-night outings, her connections to the gambling dens and shadowy figures who operated in the margins of society. Her association with Jian Chuang, who had recently returned from America, was scrutinized, a man whose charm hid a darker past and who vanished suspiciously just before the search intensified. Chen Kailiang, burdened by debts and desperation, remained another piece of this unsettling puzzle, a man caught between loyalty and survival, whose alibi left more questions than answers. Investigators followed leads into the heart of Zhuzhou's gambling underworld, a realm where fortune is fleeting and danger lurks behind every whispered bet. In this shadow world, truth was elusive, distorted by fear and silence. Witnesses were reluctant, eyes averted, caught between the law and the unspoken code of the streets. The police planted undercover officers, blending into smoky rooms and back streets, inching closer to the truth with each cautious step. But deception was their ally. False leads, staged meetings, and carefully constructed alibis challenged every advance. Even as the net tightened, the true culprits remained shadows, ghosts among the living, slipping through cracks with unsettling ease. This cat-and-mouse game tested the limits of law enforcement, patience, and the community's will to face the dark truths hidden beneath their feet. For Liu Ying's family, each passing day was a torment, hope warring with despair, answers buried beneath layers of fear and silence. As we unravel this chapter, one must ask, in a world brimming with shadows, how often do truth and justice become victims themselves? Will the hidden be brought to light? Or will Liu Ying's story dissolve into the whispers of forgotten streets? In every mystery lies a choice, to confront or to ignore, to seek truth or to bury it deep. And so we ask you, dear viewer, what would you do if the answers you seek were hidden behind walls of fear and silence? The breakthrough came unexpectedly, not from a witness or a tip, but from a chilling scene that would haunt even the most seasoned investigators. Inside, the air hung heavy with a scent no one wished to name, a grotesque mixture of decay and spices, masking a truth too terrible to face. Walls stained with dark smears, the floor littered with fragments that defied explanation, this was not just a crime scene. It was a scene of horror crafted with cold intent. Two men were arrested on the spot, Liu and Liu Ying, both with criminal pasts that whispered of desperation and recklessness. When questioned about the grotesque pot, their answers were chillingly casual, claiming it contained pork minced for dumplings, a macabre lie that shattered under scrutiny. Forensic experts confirmed what no one dared to believe: human remains, processed and concealed beneath layers of spice and deception. The gravity of their crime struck the nation, a chilling reminder of how far greed and cruelty could descend. But to understand this darkness, we must peer into the minds of those who committed it, men shaped by hardship but twisted by choice. Liu, sentenced before for theft, had been released early, only to spiral back into a world where crime was survival. Liu Ying, similarly scarred by past convictions, bore the weight of choices that chained him to a cycle of violence and desperation. Their method was brutal and calculated, luring Liu Ying with promises of friendship and business, then silencing her forever to claim her valuables. Their attempt to erase evidence through dismemberment and cooking reflected a terrifying level of cold-blooded pragmatism. In the echoes of their actions, we hear a story not just of murder, but of human degradation, a descent into a moral abyss. Yet, even in the darkest moments, the resilience of those seeking justice shines, the police, the family, and the community united in grief and resolve. This case became a somber symbol, a call to confront the shadows in society that allow such horrors to fester unnoticed. As we digest this grim chapter, we are compelled to ask ourselves, how can communities heal when trust is shattered so brutally? And what lessons can we draw from the depths of human cruelty, to prevent the next tragedy from unfolding in silence? In the wake of horror, there is hope, but only if we dare to face the darkness, acknowledge our failings, and commit to change. Dear viewer, as you reflect on this harrowing discovery, remember, the shadows around us are real, but so too is the power of light to heal. Will you choose to shine a light in the darkness, or look away and let silence reign? The arrests of Liu and Liu Ying marked the beginning of a painful journey, a quest for truth that would expose the darkest corners of human nature. Interrogations were intense, the weight of guilt crushing any pretense. Slowly, the cold facade cracked, revealing details too gruesome to easily bear. Liu, once hardened by life's cruelties, now showed flickers of remorse, a haunted gaze betraying the horrors he helped unleash. In court, the full extent of the crime was laid bare, a meticulously planned betrayal, a cold-blooded murder, and a chilling attempt to erase the victim's existence. Family members of Liu Ying bore the unbearable pain with quiet dignity, their grief a poignant reminder of the human cost behind the headlines. The defense attempted to explain the desperation born of poverty and addiction, but such pleas fell flat against the brutality of their actions. Public outrage swelled outside the courthouse, citizens demanding justice, accountability, and a reckoning for the unforgivable. The verdict was swift and severe, death sentences for both men, a final judgment that echoed the society's refusal to tolerate such darkness. Yet even as justice was served, a haunting question lingered: could punishment alone heal wounds carved so deeply? The trial laid bare systemic failures, the poverty, neglect, and fractured social safety nets that shaped desperate men into monsters. It forced the nation to confront uncomfortable truths about inequality and the invisible suffering in its hinterlands. Beyond the gavel's strike, the case became a catalyst for discussions on human dignity, mental health, and the urgent need for social reform. For families like Liu Ying's, justice offered some closure, but the scars remained, reminders of loss, betrayal, and the fragility of trust. As the court's doors closed, a collective sigh swept through the community, a mix of relief, sorrow, and a cautious hope for a safer future. Dear viewer, as you witness this final chapter, remember, justice is not an end, but a beginning. A call to heal, to rebuild, and to prevent. Following the shocking revelations in court, law enforcement intensified their efforts, determined to end the nightmare that had plagued 4 provinces. The manhunt was vast and relentless, an orchestration of multiple agencies coordinating across rugged terrains and hidden villages. Investigators pieced together fragmented clues, discarded items, witness accounts, and subtle patterns that betrayed the gang's movements. The criminal's small stature and mining experience gave authorities a unique insight. Tunnels, hidden paths, and unassuming hideouts became focal points. Months of tireless pursuit finally bore fruit near the Havati border, where officers observed suspicious activity that would lead to a dramatic confrontation. The arrest was fierce. Van Zhuzhou resisted violently, a desperate fury ignited by the inevitability of capture. Despite the chaos, justice prevailed. The capture brought relief to countless victims and their families, a turning point in a long saga of fear. But the aftermath revealed the deep wounds left behind, villages scarred, trust shattered, and an uneasy silence hanging over once vibrant communities. Officers faced immense challenges: treacherous terrain, uncooperative locals, and a web of corruption that often hindered their progress. As an observer of this case, I am struck by the resilience and dedication of those who pursued justice against overwhelming odds. Coordination between provinces, agencies, and even local citizens became crucial, a united front against the shadow of terror. Yet, the case exposed vulnerabilities: poverty, inadequate law enforcement resources, and fractured social structures that allowed darkness to grow. Each captured criminal brought a mix of relief and sorrow, a reminder that justice, though necessary, cannot undo the past. The healing of communities would require more than arrests. It called for restoration, reconciliation, and a commitment to never forget. So, as the manhunt ended and justice took its course, we are left pondering, what must be done to prevent such nightmares from ever arising again? The trial of Ban Duque was not merely a legal reckoning, but a somber moment for a nation forced to confront the darkness lurking beneath its surface. The verdict was harsh but necessary, a death sentence reflecting the unimaginable cruelty inflicted on innocent lives. Yet even as justice was served, the silence of sorrow filled the halls, families broken, communities scarred, and a collective heart wounded. This case echoes far beyond the courtroom, a chilling reminder that evil often breeds where society turns a blind eye to the vulnerable. To prevent such horrors, we must look inward and ask, how can communities nurture hope, empathy, and resilience before darkness takes hold? Protection of the weak, investment in mental health, and social equity are not luxuries but foundations for a just and safe society. The pain of victims and their families calls us to action, to break cycles of neglect and to build bridges of understanding. As we remember those lost, we also honor the resilience of survivors and the courage of those who refuse to let fear dictate their lives. Dear viewer, this story is not just a recount of darkness, it is a call to kindle light, compassion, and vigilance in your own community. What role will you play in shaping a future where no child is lost to shadows, and no family lives in fear? We invite you to reflect, share your thoughts, and join the conversation. Together, we can foster a world where healing begins. Your voice, your awareness, your compassion, all are powerful tools against the darkness. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe to support more journeys into the human spirit, stories that matter. Thank you for walking this difficult path with us. May your days be filled with light, hope, and courage. Until next time, stay compassionate, stay vigilant, and above all, stay human. In a world shadowed by pain and fear, what light will you choose to carry forward?